You want a war? You're gonna get one.
They refuse to see the change in me. Why won't they wake up? Come on, come on, come on. Let's get out. Move to the music. Play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Welcome back to Reliving the War, and welcome to the 16th of October 2000. Raw's in Detroit, Michigan tonight, while Nitro's in Melbourne, Australia. The WWF's No Mercy show happens this week, and the video review's already been completed. WCW, meanwhile, is gearing up for Halloween Havoc in 2 weeks' time, and I think WCW needs to do a bit more work to convince folks to buy that particular pay-per-view. We'll see if they do that on this week's show. Stephanie McMahon and Kurt Angle are now business partners. This was confirmed on SmackDown, and we're yet to hear what Triple H thinks of this little partnership. Stephanie arrives to Raw with Kurt. She orders Angle to get her bags out of the car, and Angle happily obliges. Also on SmackDown, Steve Austin wanted to run down Rikishi. This didn't happen, unfortunately, but Mick Foley did reinstate Stone Cold, and he booked a Rikishi vs Stone Cold match for No Mercy, a no-holds-barred match where Austin can do whatever he wants. We will hear from Rikishi and Stone Cold a bit later on. Albert Butler is this week's jam-up guy. Albert met Big Mark Henry and the big bad booty daddy himself, Scotty Steiner. I was actually thinking of bringing that Reliving the War logo back for the final stretch. It's probably my favourite logo from the entire series. Thanks Albert, thanks to everyone who made a purchase at chinlocks.com. Let's get started.
Oh Alex, slap us with your big German sausage one more time.
Oh, big Bratwurst.
Eddie Guerrero vs Chris Jericho opens up Raw tonight, while on Nitro we've got the Boogie Knights vs Jindrak and O'Hare. So the boys are getting a rematch for the tag team titles after they got screwed last week. Alex says in German that his bratwurst is bigger than the whole country of Australia, while Disco says he spoke with Ernest Miller and the Natural Born Thrillers are barred from ringside tonight. We get underway, and yeah, the video quality is not good for this show, but we see a double high knee from the Boogie Knights, and Alex sets O'Hare up for a Disco Inferno neckbreaker. Alex pulls off a smooth power slam. Disco comes in for a second rope elbow drop, though just like last week, Disco proves to be the weak link and O'Hare puts him down with a clothesline. The Thrillers pull off their double team leapfrog dropkick. Jindrak delivers a top rope hurricane rana. Disco really needs to tag out, and when he eventually does, Alex Wright comes in with a spectacular missile dropkick. The referee was so enamored with Alex's sick moves and his big bratwurst that he ends up taking a bump. The match then breaks down and Jindrak gets left with Disco. A chartbuster puts Jindrak down, and once again the Boogie Knights have it in the bag, but then Chronic show up to ruin all the fun. Disco takes a full Nelson slam while Alex takes the high times, and this allows Jindrak and O'Hare to successfully retain their tag team championships. The Natural Born Thrillers were barred from ringside, but no one said anything about Chronic. And speaking of the Thrillers, Kevin Nash tells Mike Sanders to visit Ernest Miller and tell him what's up. Big Sexy's hungover tonight, and he tells Mike he doesn't want to work, to which Mike says, "No problem, big lad." Mike must have short-term memory loss because he goes to Miller's office and he ends up booking Kevin Nash vs Sting for our Nitro main event, while Miller makes it a lumberjack match. Brilliant. Sanders faces the Cat at Halloween Havoc, and the winner of that match will become the one and only WCW Commissioner. On Raw, Eddie Guerrero says it's not his fault all the chicks like him as the crowd chants Eddie sucks. Latino Heat says China didn't leave him, rather Eddie got tired of China's crying and China became a pain in Eddie's rear end. Fans are now going to see the real Eddie Guerrero, the real Latino Heat, and Chris Jericho doesn't want to hear it. Y2J tells Eddie to shut the hell up, saying as we've got the first Raw in months that hasn't opened up with a boring 20-minute promo, and our match gets underway. Within seconds, Eddie takes a monkey flip. The landing looks rough, and if I told you Eddie got injured here, you'd probably say it was a neck injury or maybe a shoulder injury. But no, it's a hamstring injury, and even though he tries to continue on, the referee ends up calling for the bell. Fortunately, it's not as bad as initially suspected, but it does cause Eddie to miss a few matches. X-Pac runs down to attack Jericho. These two are facing off inside a steel cage at No Mercy, and B.A. Billy Gunn runs down to attack X-Pac. You can safely assume that the original plan was for Billy to attack Eddie Guerrero.
Feeling kinda low, pick up the phone and dial style. We have a little something to help you find your smile. Dial 811-LOL-HBK. Get your hands on our merchandise, you'll fly high today. Sean Sniff Sniff Delivery Service. Super kick your face, make you feel alright. Sean Sniff Sniff Delivery Service. One little snort and you'll be high as a kite.
Lance Storm wanted to give General Rection a little Halloween Havoc preview by having a Team Canada versus MIA match on Nitro. Major Guns tried to help the MIA by putting a chair in the ring, but this backfired when Lance pulled off a fantastic dropkick on Corporal Cajun. Lance then applied the Canadian Maple Leaf, the Corporal topped out, fans booed Lance, but he didn't really care. After this match, we saw Sting entering the arena. How do you do, fellow kids? Next up, we've got Shane Douglas challenging the Filthy Animals on Nitro, while over on Raw, we're going to hear from Big Rikishi. While Shane was ripping into Australia in a very typical manner, these two giant floating orbs appeared on the screen. This is the WWE Network version of Nitro, and at first, I couldn't work out exactly what they were trying to censor. It turns out it's a fan flipping the bird, and for some reason, this was unacceptable for the censors. Curiosity got the better of me, and I checked out the live version of Nitro, and yeah, it's censored there too. So standards and practices thought bikini wearing women was a-okay, while a fan flipping the bird was totally inappropriate. Remember, Nitro was on tape delay this week, so you can only imagine the censorship that would have been in place if Nitro wasn't live every Monday night. Anyway, Douglas wants Konnan and the Filthy Animals to come down for a fight. He wants to wrestle the whole group, and Konnan says Shane must want a handicap match because he's already got a head start. Within no time at all, Shane's taken a double Bronco Buster, which Mark Madden called inhumane. The franchise then rolls out of the ring and he hides behind Tori. Deep inside Tori's asshole is a can of pepper spray, and Shane sprays K-Dogg and Mysterio while Tori takes care of Tigris. With Ray and Konnan blinded, Shane's able to beat both guys up. The referee calls for the bell as Konnan gets handcuffed to the middle rope, and K-Dogg has to watch as his little friend takes a spinning tombstone piledriver. Like, this should get good heat, and it should help Konnan and Shane on their way to Halloween Havoc, but it's something we'll all forget about next week, I'm sure. Mysterio gets loaded into an ambulance before Nitro continues on, and over on Raw, Big Rikishi says life's been pretty good recently. He's getting respect from his family for what he did to Stone Cold, and Rikishi can't understand why he got banned from Raw tonight. Maybe it's because Foley's protecting Austin from the Big Goose. In regards to The Rock, well, Rikishi heard what Rock said on SmackDown. He heard how The Rock was upset with Rikishi's actions, and Rikishi thinks that The Rock's just confused. Deep inside, Rikishi thinks Rock's actually cool with what happened at Survivor Series because everything Rikishi said about the Great White Hope was true. Rikishi says he'll do anything to make sure The Rock doesn't get treated like other members of the bloodline, and if that means running down Stone Cold, then so be it. Rikishi doesn't care about Stone Cold, and Austin's going to find this out at No Mercy later in the week. TNA had a tag team match next against the Acolytes. This all came about because of a poker game on Sunday Night Heat where Trish took her clothes off and TNA attacked the Acolytes. During the match, Trish tried to once again distract the APA, but it didn't work this time. Bradshaw ended up kissing her before taking out Albert with a clothesline from hell, and the APA win this tag team match. On Nitro, meanwhile, Chuck Palumbo and Sean Stasiak are having a disagreement. These boys failed to beat Bill Goldberg on Thunder, and the big blonde Kevin Nash shows up to ease the tension. Kevin tells his boys to get it together and shake hands because they've got a tag team match next on Nitro against Mike Awesome and Crowbar. Over on Raw, we've got Al Snow defending his European title against William Regal. So Crowbar's been going back to the 70s too as of late, which means someone backstage thought the whole 70s gimmick was so good that they had to give it to two different people. There still seems to be tension between Palumbo and Stasiak as these two make their way to the ring. Kevin Nash joins the commentary team and he says his boys have the most awful entrance music he's ever heard. If you're wondering, Stasiak and Palumbo came out to Sean's Mr. Perfect music. Palumbo's getting wrecked by Awesome and Crowbar, though he does turn it around when Stasiak helps out. This doesn't last very long, however, seeing Palumbo accidentally hit Sean with a baseball slide. That 70s guy Mike Awesome goes airborne and Crowbar delivers a splash from the apron. But the Perfect Event try to once again get it together and we see a big electric chair drop from Palumbo. Sean pulls off a nice jumping back elbow. It's not enough to win the match, so Palumbo tries a head scissor takedown followed by a sidekick. Great agility here from the big man. Superplex from Stasiak, belly to belly from Awesome. The Perfect Event try to double team Awesome, but Sean clocks his own partner. This allows Awesome to perform a German suplex and a big splash, and the Perfect Event lose via pinfall. Things break down after the match. Palumbo and Stasiak get in each other's faces. Coach Nash gets in the ring to break the guys up, and Big Kev forces the men to hug it out. Clearly they don't want to do this, but that's how it ends, and you gotta wonder what these two could possibly do in WCW if they did break up. On Raw, Al Snow's defending his European title against William Regal, and he's representing the UK. This, of course, is something William Regal doesn't find funny at all. Regal attacks before the bell, Snow fights back. We see the Regal cutter very early on, but Snow won't stay down for a 3 count. Regal delivers a few knee strikes. We see an uppercut straight from the continent of Europe. Al Snow takes a big suplex, and the European champ needs to fight back here as Regal tries to lock in a chancery. Finally, Al gets into it and he pulls off a jawbreaker, better known as a franchiser in WCW. Regal tries to throw another European uppercut, but Snow dodges it and the challenger takes a clothesline and a back body drop. A German suplex is not enough to win the match, so Al goes up for a moonsault and Regal gets his knees up. This leads to Regal locking in the Regal stretch, and that's it over. Snow's reign comes to an end and William Regal is our new European champion. Finally, a champion we can all be proud of. Shane Douglas is very happy with his actions earlier on and he's feeling confident, so he challenges Booker T to a World Championship match tonight on Nitro. Tori, meanwhile, calls Pamela Paulshock a bitch. Lovely. David Flair wants Mike Sanders to book a match for Halloween Havoc, a DNA match where Davey Boy's going to take on Buff Bagwell. Sanders doesn't even ask what a DNA match is, but he books it anyway. Though Mike has a special assignment for David tonight on Nitro. Not only does he have to stick this koala bear up his ass, he has to stay put for a match later on tonight. Over on Raw, Triple H is having words with his lovely wife. He wanted Stephanie to reconsider her recent business decision, but seeing as Triple H didn't reconsider letting Stephanie stand at ringside with him, little Miss McMahon really had no choice. She says the WWF's her life, and because she can't help Hunter, she's going to help Angle, though Triple H is worried about Steph getting physically hurt. A bit later on, Steph has a meeting with Angle. She says Kurt's going to be the WWF champion after No Mercy this week, and Triple H interrupted this little meeting before telling Stephanie to leave. Stephanie left the room and Triple H gave Kurt a stern warning. Stephanie is now Kurt's responsibility. If she gets hurt, then Triple H is going to hurt Angle, and this relationship is strictly business. If Angle tries any funny business, like, I don't know, slipping a finger, then again, Kurt's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. So Triple H is going solo tonight as he faces the Big Red Machine Kane. On Nitro, we've got an Ernest Miller promo. Chris Benoit came out to watch the Raw match. Remember, we've got Hunter versus Benoit at No Mercy this week. Triple H got distracted and Kane took the early lead, though Hunter fought back with a neckbreaker, a lot of mounted punches, and a clothesline that sent Kane out of the ring. The two fight on the outside while Benoit asks a question. Would you rather be that damn good or the best technical wrestler in the game today? Hunter keeps an eye on Benoit as the action continues, but this allows Kane to take control and Hunter's now in trouble. We see Kane's flying clothesline before we cut backstage. Stephanie really wants to help Triple H out, but Kurt says no. Stephanie is Kurt's responsibility now and she can't get hurt. So Stephanie stays put while Angle has a big smile on his face. Back in the ring, Hunter takes a press slam from the Big Red Machine. The game answers with his running knee and a facebreaker knee smash. Kane takes a DDT that doesn't seem to faze him all that much, but when he goes for a tombstone, Hunter counters. Hunter's pedigree attempt is unsuccessful and Kane ends up throwing him out of the ring. And when Hunter comes around, he takes this opportunity to attack Chris Benoit. Enraged and all fired up, Hunter turns his attention to Kane again and he performs a pedigree on the outside. Though this is where our match ends as Chris Benoit attacks Hunter with a steel chair. The referee calls for the bell and Benoit goes to work on Triple H inside the ring. Benoit puts Hunter in a crippler crossface and the game tops out, but I'd be very surprised if this is what we end up seeing at No Mercy this week. One thing is for sure though, the WWF want Hunter going into No Mercy as the babyface. On Nitro, Miller says he wants to tell the fans something important that he wants to share with the fans in attendance and the fans watching at home. And that something is, the cat hates Mark Madden's fat ass. Miller then calls out Mike Sanders. Mike says he doesn't have any time for Miller, but at Halloween Havoc, Mike's going to whip Miller all over Las Vegas. Sanders then says it's a shame Miller and Miss Jones came to the ring by themselves. Cat says he would have brought Mike's mum, but she wouldn't fit through the arena doors. And that's when Chronic show up and Sanders sends the two Bryans down to beat Miller up. Goldberg's music plays in the arena, Billy Boy appears from the audience and he gets in the ring, and Mike says the scheduled Bill Goldberg vs Chronic match at Halloween Havoc isn't going to happen tonight because there's too much money at stake. Brian Clark cuts a rare promo where he says Chronic's all about breaking necks and cashing checks. Adam says when Goldilocks faces these two bears, he's going to lose his career, his winning streak, and his big bowl of porridge is going to get shoved up his puckered little bum. My god. And when Goldberg tells these three to shut up, Sanders falls on his puckered little bum. There's no physicality here. Jindrak, O'Hare and security keep the men separated. And you might be shocked to hear this, but Goldberg vs Chronic at Halloween Havoc is actually the show's main event. After the promos, Mike Sanders grabs young David Flair and he says his assignment is coming up very soon. David has no idea what he's doing tonight, but Mike tells him to get up and get ready. Kwee and Johnny the Bull had a match that ended abruptly. After around 20 seconds of action, Johnny took a monkey flip and he landed really badly on his ankle. Talk about a coincidence, what with Eddie Guerrero taking a monkey flip earlier on. Kwee quickly pinned his opponent after the move and he got out of the ring so the medical team could get in. Johnny hasn't been very lucky when it comes to injuries, and yeah, this one looked pretty brutal. Nitro continues on with Shane Douglas vs Booker T for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, while Raw presents a Stone Cold Steve Austin promo. Raw's in the same arena where Austin got ran over last year, and Stone Cold says he is happy to be here, but he's pissed off with what happened at Survivor Series 99. Stone Cold plans on compressing 10 months of frustration into the biggest ass whipping he's ever given out in his life, and what Rikishi said earlier on was a load of crap. Stone Cold does not need protection. Rikishi isn't banned from Raw for Stone Cold's well-being. Rikishi's afraid of Austin, and when Austin looks at Rikishi at No Mercy, the rattlesnake's looking at a dead man. There's going to be no arm drags this Sunday, no drop kicks, and no lucha libre stuff either. When Austin gets Rikishi on the ground, he's going to stomp a mud hole in his ass because Austin's the only man who can do that to a rear end that big. Rikishi appears on the Titantron. He reminds Austin that Foley banned him from the arena, but that doesn't mean he's banned from the parking lot, the same parking lot where Austin got ran over. So Big Keish is calling Stone Cold out right now for a fight. Austin's like, no problem, so Stone Cold goes marching to the parking lot looking for Big Keish. Austin goes outside, he looks for the man who took him out, and Stone Cold should have known better because Rikishi tries to run him down once again. Austin gets out of the way, and Rikishi says, Austin, this Sunday, no mercy. So it seems Rikishi really meant it when he said he'd run over Stone Cold again if he had the opportunity to do so. Scotty Steiner joined the commentary team for Booker T vs Shane Douglas. Konnan also left his locker room and he told Tagras he had some unfinished business to take care of, so shocker folks, we're going to have shenanigans. The commentary's already getting muted as Scotty Steiner talks about his freaks. And when Booker T went after Tori Wilson after she tried to get involved in the match, the cameras cut to the audience. Clearly WCW don't want to show Booker going after Tori, but Shane Douglas going after Tagras was a-okay. Shane and Booker brawl on the outside. No one gets the upper hand here, though back in the ring, Shane pulls off a diving clothesline before wrenching down on Book's neck. We stay on the mat for quite some time here, and when the two get up, we see a front suplex from the franchise. Shane's now firmly on offense, and the crowd aren't given much reason to cheer. They are behind Booker T, of course, but they've been quite quiet throughout the whole match. Shane pulls off the Mr. Perfect Snapmare and neckbreaker combo before again wrenching down on Booker's neck, but Booker finally fights back with a corner sunset flip attempt followed with a neckbreaker. Booker fires up with a spinebuster, an axe kick and a Harlem sidekick. Tori then passes Douglas a chain, which young Billy Kidman didn't appreciate too much, so Billy shows up and he tries to take the chain away from the franchise. A back elbow sends Billy off the apron and right into Medeja, and naturally, Scotty Steiner didn't like this kid touching his favourite freak. Billy gets beaten up and Konnan runs down for the save. This gets followed by Jeff Jarrett showing up to help out Big Papa Pump, and K-Dog gets taken out. Back in the ring, Booker wins the match after delivering a bookend, so Booker remains champion, and the Scotty Steiner vs Booker T match is still on for Halloween Havoc. Steiner's so mad at Billy Kidman that he says he's going to crush him tonight in a singles match, and Double J also challenges Konnan. The promos are again heavily edited, which makes it really annoying to watch. David Flair's in the ring waiting for his assignment. Daddy Flair's entrance music plays in the arena and Slick Rick marches down before joining the commentary team. Rick says he's here to watch his son wrestle, but if Rick wanted to see David at his very best, he's going to be sorely disappointed. Goldberg's music plays. David knows he's in a lot of trouble. David Flair vs Goldberg's next on Nitro, while Raw presents an X-Pac promo. Yeah, Raw's been a bit strange this week, hasn't it? Y2J versus Eddie Guerrero opener, sit-down interview in the first 15 minutes, X-Pac getting mic time, just seems like a different format than usual. X-Pac calls Jericho a frickin' idiot. X-Pac beat Jericho in a first blood match, he's beaten him every time they've stepped inside the ring together, and still he comes back for more. On top of that, Waltman has to deal with another stupid blonde who DX kicked out of their faction around 10 months ago, B.A. Billy Gunn. And if Billy wants to make a name for himself by going after X-Pac, then Waltman's going to give his old teammate the opportunity to do just that. X-Pac's calling Billy Gunn out, and before Billy can make it to the ring, Eddie Guerrero, on one leg, clocks him with the IC belt. X-Pac takes advantage here and a referee shows up to get this impromptu one-on-one match underway, but within seconds, Chris Jericho runs down and the match gets thrown out. Y2J brings it to X-Pac, Kid tries to run away and grab a steel chair, but it gets dropkicked in his face. Jericho then gets an opportunity to dive over the top rope and he ends up smacking referee Jack Dunn with an elbow right to the head. This gets followed with the officials having a hard time keeping Jericho and X-Pac apart. Billy Gunn storms into Mick Foley's office and he demands a match against Eddie Guerrero. Mick grants it and that match is scheduled to take place at No Mercy, but due to Eddie's injury, the match actually doesn't take place. So, did Ric Flair get to see his wonderful son put on a wrestling clinic against Goldberg? No. David tried a few chops, which didn't affect Goldberg a single bit. One punch puts David down, and Rick watches on as his son takes a spear. Absolutely pathetic. One jackhammer later, and Goldberg wins via pinfall. And Stevie Ray says on commentary that Goldberg is now 10-0. I'm not looking it up. I don't even care how the number jumped up so quickly. Let's just accept it and try to enjoy ourselves. Pamela Paulshock knows her WCW history. She says Konnan and Billy Kidman joining forces again as a reuniting of the original Filthy Animals, and Konnan even welcomes Billy back into the group. Whether this is official or not, I'm not sure, but Kidman says he and the Animals are just as tight as the top Pamela's got on right now. Yeah, I'm no expert, but that does look a bit restrictive. These two boys have singles matches coming up against Double J and Big Papa Pump respectively. And first up, it's Kidman vs Scotty Steiner. Raw, meanwhile, puts on a Dudleys vs Conquistadores match. Scotty says he picked up some of the Australian lingo during this little business trip that goes like this.
It goes Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
He then changes this to Aussie, Aussie, Aussie assholes, which some fans cheer for and some fans boo. Tony Jabroni apologises because he's such a good little boy, but Steiner's not going to say sorry for anything he says. As a matter of fact, he'd rather beat up an Australian fan because it brings him so much joy. Kidman makes his entrance, he gets wrecked at the opening bell, and this is what happens when you touch one of Big Papa Pump's freaks. Kidman does come back with a dropkick, though Steiner replies immediately with a clothesline. Scotty performs a gorilla press slam that included 3 reps. He then tries a powerbomb, which naturally leads to a face jam. Kidman then tries to go upstairs, but Steiner follows him for a middle rope Samoan drop. One Steiner recliner later, and Kidman's out cold. So good effort, Billy boy. Thanks for coming. Honestly, it's just nice seeing a match end with no interference and no shenanigans. Sure, it was a glorified squash match, but I'll take this over a million run-ins any day. Jim Ross, God bless him, thinks that the Conquistadors are actually Edge and Christian. No idea why he thinks this, and it's actually a little disrespectful. If Uno and Dos can do well here, they could find themselves in a tag team title match this week at No Mercy. Though Uno has to stop doing stuff like this, even though it is super awesome. Dos comes in for a back body drop and the Conquistadors take a big corner splash from Bubba. More double team work keeps Dos on the mat, and as the match continues on, it seems like Bubba Ray and Devon have it all figured out. That is until Uno and Dos refocus and they show the Dudleys what true tag team wrestling's all about. Dos performs a little roll before tagging in Uno again. Uno tries to do the same before hitting a clothesline, but it didn't look too hot. Never fear though, cause here comes Dos once again with a back senton. Bubba's fed up. He decides to tag in and end this nonsense once and for all. Both Conquistadors get wrecked and we even see the Dudley's signature headbutt, but the mistake the Dudleys made here was looking for the tables. Dos takes Devon out with a plancha while Bubba performs a Bubba bomb on Uno. Bubba then tries to take off Uno's mask, and this allows Dos, who was legal, to roll up the Dudley boy and get a pinfall win. The Dudley boys are good, don't get me wrong, but they're absolutely no match for the Conquistadors. Double J vs Konnan's next on Nitro, while Raw presents Road Dogg vs Val Venis. Road Dogg explained that, as an American, he has certain rights, and he's going to exercise the right to beat up Val Venis tonight on Raw.
Shut up!
Steven Richards brings Mr. Venis down to the ring. This one feels a bit random for a semi-main event, and I don't think it's necessary to bore you with all the details here. Nothing wrong with the action in the ring, but I can't see this match leading to anything substantial. Highlights included Road Dogg throwing Venis into the ring steps, Venis performing a neckbreaker and a suplex. Yeah, I'm definitely scraping here. We do see a chinlock from Venis, which makes this match jump up in quality by a great amount, but Road Dogg breaks it up and he tries a sneaky pin. It didn't work. Oh my god, chinlock number 2 from Val Venis. This amount of dick teasing should be illegal, and no, we don't see a third unfortunately. Narrowly missing out on match of the year right here, lads. Road Dogg's got it won, he goes for the dancey punch, and that's when Naked Midian shows up, which actually doesn't faze Road Dogg at all. He's used to this kind of behaviour. Road Dogg finishes his dancey punch, Naked Midian attacks Steven Richards, but Val Venis still wins after a low blow and an inside cradle. The WWF really do want to keep the right to censor heat going on, but already it feels like they need something more. Like their crusade has been slightly one-dimensional and they've maybe played out all their options already. Speaking of play it out, Jeff Jarrett's competing in the Nitro semi-main and he attacks Konnan before the bell. K-Dog answers with his rolling clothesline right away, and our match then goes outside where Jarrett uses a plastic chair and a steel chair. Are the rules still relaxed in WCW? I really have no idea. The rules being relaxed is also something not many people talk about when looking back at WCW during this era. Like, it was something that was officially announced and it's something I complained about quite a bit, but it's surprising how it's not brought up as a big negative during Nitro's dying days. It's such a strange thing to introduce and run with. Konnan delivers a K-Factor, yet he doesn't go for a pin nor the Tequila Sunrise. Instead, he holds Jarrett in place for Tagris to perform her face full of stuff. But before that can happen, Shane Douglas runs down to help Jarrett out. Tagris slaps both Shane and Tori. Konnan tries to pull her away, but while this was going on, Jeff grabbed his guitar. Konnan ducks the swing, Tagris takes all the impact, and our match ends with Double J performing the stroke on K-Dog. To rub salt in the wounds, Jarrett puts Konnan in the Scorpion Deathlock, something that Sting saw backstage. But the Stinger has no time to go after Jarrett because he's going to compete right now in our Nitro main event. Kurt Angle's in his locker room taking care of business. Not sure exactly what he's doing, but Stephanie tells him to get out now and get focused. Kurt's in a 6-man tag main event tonight, so he better sort it out. The two then come out to the entranceway to cut a promo. Stephanie formally introduces Kurt as her new business partner and the man who's going to beat The Rock this Sunday at No Mercy. And Kurt says this arena isn't famous for Steve Austin getting run over, it's not famous for the Red Wings, it's famous for hosting Kurt Angle's national television debut in the WWF. Steph and Kurt say it's funny how Detroit's known as the Motor City, seeing as The Rock left his bag open at Survivor Series, and this allowed Rikishi to motor down Steve Austin. Angle's implying that Rock had something to do with what Rikishi did. Kurt reminds the fans that he's already won the IC title, the European title, and King of the Ring. He's going to win the WWF title this week, and this is something that took Triple H a lifetime to achieve. Tonight though, Angle's going to put Rock on a losing streak that's going to continue into No Mercy. So we've got Angle, Edge and Christian taking on Rocky and the Hardy Boys in our Raw main event. Nitro presents Sting versus Kevin Nash in a lumberjack match. So there's all the proof you need. There's no way Edge and Christian would wrestle twice in one night. This isn't WCW Nitro, folks. Rock attacks Angle at the opening bell, but we settle into Rock and Edge to get us underway. Rock seems hell-bent on getting at Kurt though, and this costs him early on. In comes Christian and we see a Samoan drop from the WWF champion. Rock throws Christian out of the ring, he tells Angle to just bring it, but Edge attacks from behind and this gives Kurt an advantage when he does tag in. Triple H is watching the match backstage. He's also icing his shoulder after that crippler crossface earlier on. In the ring, Angle performs a back suplex, but when Edge comes back in, Rock delivers a clothesline. This allows Jeff to tag in, and the Hardy Boy looks all excited to be in the Raw main event. Matt seems pretty pumped up too. We see poetry in motion after Matt tags in. Edge gets all tied up in the ropes and Matt gets in a few free shots. Matt then catapults Edge into Christian, who was standing on the apron, but Matt's at the wrong side of the ring now and it's easy for the heels to take control. In comes Christian for a chinlock. I love it when guys pull off chinlocks in multi-man tag matches. The story of the match is now going to get predictable as the babyface in peril needs to tag out, so you know how this one's gonna go. Matt gets beaten up in the opposition's corner, he struggles to build momentum and he gets shut down quite a few times, and when Matt does get a chance to tag out, Christian ensures he doesn't make it to his corner. So, Lita decides to help out with a diving Hurricane Rana. It's like the Hardy Boys always need help from this woman during their matches. Stephanie makes Lita pay for this interference, and you know what? She deserved it. Stop interfering in matches, Lita. Still, this does help Matt make it to his corner. Rock and Angle tag in and the crowd comes alive as Rock lays the smackdown. Rock delivers his belly-to-belly throw as he keeps the energy up, though he hits Edge from the apron, and this allows Angle to slow things way down. It takes no time at all for Rock to get back into it, and he delivers a spinebuster to Angle. Christian interrupts the People's Elbow, though this is just a minor setback as Rock delivers a rock bottom to the #1 contender. Stephanie then grabs the Rock while the referee has his back turned. Edge and Christian ensure no harm comes to Steph, and Rock gets sent out of the ring. Jeff Hardy, meanwhile, goes for a Swanton bomb, but Stephanie hits him with a tire iron and Hardy falls to the canvas. Our match ends with Angle getting a pinfall win over Jeff after an Olympic slam. Kurt and Stephanie look very pleased with their work, and in an effort to send fans home happy, Rock delivers rock bottoms to Edge and Christian. But Kurt Angle does not care. Kurt and Steph can smell what the Rock's cooking, and it smells like failure. The Lumberjacks make their way to ringside for our Nitro main event, including the Boogie Knights, the MIA, Booker T, and Ernest Miller. Kevin Nash, however, brings his own Lumberjacks in form of the Nitro-born Thrillers. The crowd are pretty pumped up as Nash goes to work on the Stinger, and yeah, corner knee strikes, a cornerback elbow or two. Nash then does this before another corner elbow, and the big man continues on by attempting snake eyes. This doesn't work out, and Sting dropkicks Nash out of the ring, and the babyface Lumberjacks attack Nash before sending him back inside. Sting then focuses on Kev's left leg, which always proves to be an effective strategy against Nash. Sting then turns the big man over and he applies the Scorpion Deathlock, but the Natural-born Thrillers save their coach and they protect Big Kev on the outside. When the match resumes, Sting goes for a Stinger Splash, but he jumps into a big boot. This looked pretty good, by the way. And this gets followed up with a Sidewalk Slam, Snake Eyes, and a Leapfrog Teabag as Sting finds himself in a lot of trouble. Chaos then erupts as Scotty Steiner shows up to attack Booker T. This makes all the Lumberjacks begin fighting with each other, and everyone around the ring ends up heading back up the entranceway. So it's now a typical one-on-one match, and Sting's able to finally hit that Stinger Splash. The Icon then dropkicks Kevin Nash and Big Kev bumps into the referee. Sting then delivers another Stinger Splash while seemingly ignoring the fact that poor Charles Robinson's going to get squished. With the referee out cold, this allows Double J to sneak onto the apron while holding his acoustic equalizer, and Sting jumps right into a guitar shot. The referee wakes up, he crawls slowly over to count the pinfall, and that's how it ends. Kevin Nash defeats Sting, and that's the end of Nitro Down Under. This episode of Nitro was just as bad as last week's. Great to see WCW selling out shows outside of America, and even though it was all a failed experiment due to poor financial planning, it's still interesting to see these weekly shows getting held in new venues. But you really wouldn't miss much by skipping these Aussie shows altogether. New country, same WCW. An easy win for Raw this week, unfortunately, and I honestly can't imagine WCW improving much when they return to the States next week. Raw's on 151 points, Nitro's on 82, and we've got 24 ties. Both Raw and Nitro dipped in the TV ratings. Raw got a 4.8, Nitro got a 2.3. The WWF No Mercy review will be available this Sunday on YouTube, or you can support me and the channel by signing up on Patreon or as a YouTube channel member to see it early. Loads going down at the show, including Steve Austin vs Rikishi in a no-holds-barred fight, Chris Jericho taking on X-Pac inside a steel cage, we've got Triple H and Chris Benoit going at it in the pay-per-view semi-main event, and then we'll see if Kurt Angle can defeat The Rock to become WWF champion. It's a good show and there's some good matches included here too, so make sure you come on over and check it out. Thank you very much for choosing Reliving the War today when you've got so many other options available. Have a good week folks, and please take care.